They told you that everything was fine, that there were no complications, everything was okay, but now your baby has been diagnosed with HIE or has a subsequent CP diagnosis. And now nothing is making sense to you. If the delivery was normal, labor was normal, then how did this happen to your baby? I want you to think about something. Just because the medical records say that everything was fine, that does not mean that mistakes or errors were not made. One of the biggest things that we can see in birth injury cases is that the written record does not always tell the complete story of what may have happened. When a baby is injured during labor and delivery, the first thing that many families are going to do is they're going to look at the medical records. They expect to see clear and concise answers. But what happens when those records are vague, but they don't match what the family remembered happened? Hospitals and medical staff document events in a way that can make it sometimes hard to see where things may have went wrong. Notes may be incomplete, wording might downplay certain warning signs, and the charting is often done after the fact. And when that happens, details can be missed or things can be adjusted. But there is one thing that does not change. There's one thing that can tell the entire story second by second, and that is the electronic fetal heart monitoring strips. If you had continuous fetal heart monitoring during your labor, those strips are tracking your baby's heart rate in real time. They're looking at the heart rate and they're looking at the contractions throughout labor. And again, that's in real time. They can show whether the baby was tolerating labor or whether there were signs of distress. The nursing notes and the flow charts are supposed to reflect what was happening, but sometimes those notes don't match what the monitor was actually recording. And when that happens, that can be a problem. If your baby's heart rate was dropping too low for too long, but the medical records are describing a normal labor, that can be a red flag. If the fetal monitoring strips are showing distress, but the charting is saying during that time there was moderate variability, that can be misleading. And if there was a delay in responding, the strips may show it, even if the written record does not. Again, the time stamps from that strip, they're not lying. The strips can record every second of the labor. They're going to show whether the doctors and the nurses acted quickly or whether they waited too long. The strips can show whether interventions like stopping the Pitocin or giving oxygen or repositioning the mother, whether those things were done in time or whether they were done when they should have been done. In a birth injury investigation, we're going to compare the records. We're going to look at whether the strips match what the nursing notes are saying or the physician's charting and even the hospital's policies. And we're not going to be, I'm not the only one that's going to be reviewing all of this stuff. For these medical legal cases, other medical professionals and experts who are trained to read fetal monitoring strips and understand labor and delivery, they're going to also go through the records to determine whether the standard of care was met. They're going to look at whether the doctors and the nurses, whether they missed the warning signs, whether they responded appropriately, and whether the delays that happened, whether they actually contributed to their baby's HIE or subsequent CP brain injuries. Their findings can be powerful. They can help answer the questions that keeps many families up at night, and that is whether their baby's brain injury, whether it could have actually been prevented. If your baby has been diagnosed with HIE or subsequent CP diagnosis, don't just assume because the medical records say everything was fine that nothing went wrong. The real story sometimes can be deeper than what is actually written down. If you have other questions about your baby's HIE brain injury or subsequent CP diagnosis from a medical legal standpoint, don't hesitate to reach out and contact me. You can find out more information about me in my profile. If you're on certain apps, you can just send me a DM and we could chat for a little bit about what's going on and about your baby's story. Or what you could do is you can just wait and watch the picture that will follow this video. All right, that's going to be it for this morning's short educational video. Have a great day, everybody.